Okay, so in today's video, we're going to talk about Netflix versus Roku and talk about which streaming stock is the better buy. So I came across a really interesting article. It basically talks about Laura Martin. She's an analyst for Needham, and she basically is comparing Netflix versus Roku. So I found this article pretty interesting because I personally actually own both of these stocks. So I just want to quickly run through the article, and then I want to share you guys what I think about which stock would be the better play. So as she talks about, basically this is a way to play streaming stocks. As you guys know, during the coronavirus crisis, a lot of people are spending time indoors. So they're spending a lot of time watching movies on Netflix, watching Disney Plus, or Apple, Hulu and things like that with their Roku. So there's no sports. So a lot of that attention that has gone towards sports has gone towards basically movies and TV shows. So she talks about and she's been arguing the case about Netflix for a while, and the streamer's leader durability and such difficult change hasn't changed her mind. She actually rated shares of Netflix as an underperform, and she says she's worried about Netflix's balance sheet potential liquidity woes based on her projection of $2 to $4 billion of negative free cash flow in 2020. So that seems like what most of her concern is, and the fact that Netflix subs have gone down. What she says instead, Martin suggests investors take a look at the streaming universe's new player, Roku. The alternative choice is an interesting one for me, as lately the phrase the new Netflix has been thrown about whenever Roku is in the vicinity. So it's actually kind of funny though, because Roku is actually a spin-off of Netflix. I think I mentioned this earlier in a couple of videos you guys been following my channel. But basically, what happened was Reed Hastings was working with Anthony Wood. Anthony Wood is the CEO of Roku, and basically they came up with this new digital streaming player, and instead of kind of have Netflix run the company, they spun it off into Roku. So both these companies are kind of intertwined historically, and they should always be similarly related. But I think that I disagree a little bit on her kind of her analysis of Netflix. I think Netflix, if you guys didn't know, Netflix was actually the top performing stock all of last decade from 2010 to 2019. Netflix investors made more money than any other stock traded in the U.S. market. So I think it's kind of hard to be against a stock that has historically provided so well. And the fact that Netflix is struggling a little bit with their free cash flow, that's because they're investing so much into content. So I want to just talk first about Netflix. Netflix is a stock that I did buy. I purchased Netflix shares at around $280 or so. So I thought just anytime Netflix was under $300, the shares I thought the shares were grossly undervalued. So I bought in right around here, guys. I mentioned in an earlier video, but basically I bought right around the $285 range. And so far I'm up pretty well. And one of the reasons why I think Netflix, people aren't thinking about it is because there's been lots of reports of Netflix, crashing the internet in Europe and stuff like that. And it just seems like in these type of times where people are self-quarantining themselves, Netflix is going to be the #1 winner. So I guys actually made a list of my top 10 coronavirus stocks. So be sure to check out that video on my channel if you guys haven't seen it. I'll try to post a link in the description. But basically, Netflix is the clear winner during these types of times. People spending basically the majority of their day indoors other than to just buy food or water. What else are they supposed to do? So Netflix should pick up a ton of subscribers, I think, during this whole coronavirus epidemic. So I don't think she's kind of waiting in those numbers. The fact that I expect subscriptions to jump a ton for this year because simply there's really nothing else to do. I mean, you're being indoors all day. What are people going to do? Play board games or video games? There's no sports. So a lot of that attention is going to Netflix. And another thing that I like about Netflix, if you take a look at the enterprise value and the market cap, it's pretty close. And Netflix is only trading at a price to sales of around 7. And I'm going to get into Roku a little bit later. But basically, that's a similar price to sales ratio of Roku. And the fact that Netflix has a strong brand. So, obviously, the one negative kind of thing that she was talking about was the free cash flow, because Netflix spends so much money on content. But revenue is very strong, $20 billion a year, and I expect that number to increase quite a bit during the whole coronavirus crisis, where people don't have much else to do at home. So I think maybe in the short term, I think people could be scared away from Netflix stock and a price earnings ratio of 82. But I still think Netflix is a great stock to invest in. And charts don't lie. So I mean, if you invested in Netflix, when it IPO'd, you'd be a ton of money. The stock just continues to chug on. And one thing about Netflix is that it's always historically had haters. So companies like Netflix, people always have negative things to say about it, but at the end of the day, they keep chugging along and they keep adding to their subscribers. So I'm going to make I want to see the subscriber growth for the first quarter, first and second quarter. So I'll definitely be making some future videos on Netflix to show you guys what's kind of going on. But for me, Netflix is pretty much a buy. I don't see the brand slowing down anytime soon, and I think the brand is going to get even stronger. So I want to just quickly show you guys a long-term chart of Netflix. Guys, so as you can see here, here is a long-term chart of Netflix. It doesn't go all the way back, but as you can see here, the company, like I said, charts don't lie. So Netflix was for a long time unbelievably trading at a couple bucks a share. So if you bought shares back then, you're doing very hard for me to bet against Netflix. It actually looks like it's formed a double bottom here, so that's an extremely bullish trend. And if like I think a lot of people should be subscribing to Netflix with really nothing else to do, their subscriber numbers will probably jump. It's one of the few industries that's actually benefiting from a global lockdown. And according to this double bottom, a very bullish signal here, it looks like we could be headed to 400 this year. So I think Netflix is if you're looking for a stock to put your money into, I don't think you can really go wrong with Netflix. I wouldn't worry too much about that free cash flow. Reed Hastings has always been kind of very passionate about spending as much money on content as possible, and I expect their numbers to grow into the future. And if you take a look at this market cap, I still think it's a pretty tiny market cap for such a company with a strong brand. You can talk about Netflix in the same company of companies that have like Facebook and Google, and those market caps are much bigger. So I wouldn't worry too much about Netflix here. I think it can go to 400 or beyond. Not really sure when, but I definitely like Netflix shares. So then also I want to talk about Roku. So Roku was the second stock that I wanted to compare, guys. And the story with Roku has been a little bit different. Obviously, Roku, a much smaller company, only a $10 billion market cap. And the stock's been on a roller coaster. So if you guys knew earlier last year, the stock was at 50 and then ran all the way up to 180, and now it's run all the way down. So what I actually did is I've been buying Roku stock basically slowly throughout the year. When the price came down here, I picked up about 5 more shares at around $75. So I'm holding about 10 shares now, something like that. And that's actually so far right now it's one of my largest holdings. Probably my largest holding, definitely my largest holding in my Robinhood. I need to go back and to check out my portfolio to make sure, because Uber is definitely up there. But right now, Roku and Uber are my two largest holdings. And the reason I like Roku is that, I want to go back to the article and point out a key point that she made that I thought was really interesting. And I agree with her 100%. So she says, first of all, what makes Roku preferable to Netflix? Roku should be viewed as an aggregation platform similar to iOS and Android and mobile and Facebook and social. Following up this bold assertion with the claim, winning aggregators typically benefit from winner take most economics. So that's a great point there. And one of the things about Roku is that whether people are watching Netflix or whether they're watching Disney Plus, whether they're watching Hulu, it really doesn't matter because Roku is going to benefit from people using it. So me, myself, personally, this is another example of me putting my money where my mouth is. I own a Roku, and I use it all the time. I'm not using it as much lately because I use a lot of my Roku for basically Netflix and NBA. So with no NBA here, my usage is a bit down. But like I said, hopefully they'll start the NBA season back up once the global lockdown ends. But a lot of people use Roku to watch Netflix. So I just want to show you guys something about Roku. If you take a look here, enterprise value of 15 billion, a market cap of 10 billion. So according to enterprise value, the stock is slightly undervalued, and a price to sales of around 9, which is actually a bit more than Netflix. Netflix was around 7. So according to that, obviously, a price to revenue, it's a little bit more expensive. But another key point that I think Roku has is that the revenue recently rose to $1 billion. And that's a huge milestone for any company. Anytime you're bringing in $1 billion a year, you're definitely doing something right. Most companies will never achieve that mark. So the thing I like about Roku as well is that not only do they sell players, but they make a lot of their money through advertising. So Now, there's definitely going to be a slowdown in advertising. I believe Facebook reported that they've already experienced a slowdown with businesses closed and not buying as many ads. But the nice thing about Roku is that as long as they continue to increase the average revenue per user and increase the average users on their platform, they can earn more money through advertising. So that's it, guys. Which stock do I like better? It's really hard for me to get away from Netflix because I think Netflix is just so consistent. But if I were looking to put my money in a stock that has more growth potential, it's probably Roku because, as she said in the article, that winner take most economics is true. Aggregators are always going to benefit. For instance, you guys, Google is basically an aggregator. Google doesn't really produce anything. They just aggregate all of the world's content. YouTube is an aggregator. Facebook is an aggregator. So these companies, they don't actually produce much themselves. They just take all the best content and put it in one place. So those type of businesses would do well. If you're looking for something a bit more consistent and you're looking for something to park your money in, you don't want as much volatility, I would definitely go with Netflix. I never plan to sell my Netflix stock. I've been using Netflix for years. I still have a subscription, so I'm just going to hold on to my share. For Roku, I think Roku has a lot more upside just because the market cap is much smaller. And I think this is a huge buying opportunity. I believe Laura Martin has a price target of Roku. Let's see what her price target is. I believe her price target is around $200. Yeah, see, it says she reiterates a buy rating on Roku with a price target of $200. But for me, Roku's worth a lot more than that. Simply because we're still transitioning from cord cutters. So during this global lockdown, a lot of people are going to be cutting their cable. It's very expensive to have some of these $50, $70, $100 plus cable packages. And if streaming is definitely the future, which I believe it is, I think Roku is the clear winner. So at a $10 billion market cap, I just think it's grossly undervalued. In fact, I like both stocks. If you're looking for more growth, I would go with Roku. If you're older and you're not looking for growth, perhaps you're looking for something that you could put your retirement money into, I would definitely go with Netflix because you know exactly what you're going to get there. But Roku definitely has more growth. So I hope that cleared things up, guys. Let me know if you have any questions about Roku or Netflix. These are two stocks that I personally own, so that I'm putting up my full disclosure there. And I will be updating you guys on what's going on with these companies. I really like streaming stocks. I just think the business model is an awesome business model. And of course, it is basically global shutdown proof. So that's it for now, guys. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more videos in the future. That's it for now. Take care.